Hey guys, what's going on? It's T-Carp. Let's read Chapter 9, Passing the Peer Review, the JAMAS Journal Ordeal. The Sasquatch Genome Study team submitted the paper to multiple journals. The Russian journal, mentioned in the previous chapter, responded after agreeing to review the paper with, quote, "The paper is outside our scope of expertise," end quote. An American-based journal refused to review the paper, actually stating in the denial email, quote, "We feel that the samples used could have come from many different types of animals," end quote. This journal literally accused the Sasquatch Genome Project team of using animal DNA samples, and fabricating the results of the study. During the search for a second-tier journal, the team found a new journal that was soliciting paper submittals for its inaugural publication. See Exhibit 11. The journal's name was the Journal of Advanced Multidisciplinary Exploration in Zoology, or JAMAS. The Foundation of Advanced Zoological Exploration Incorporated was the owner of the journal. JAMAS accepted the paper for review on January 4th of 2013. The executive editor informed Dr. Ketchum that the paper had passed peer review with revisions. The editor informed the team that the possible publishing date would be January 18th. The team then received notification via email from the referees that the paper was, quote, "approved for publication with revisions," end quote. The email had the triple blind studies referee's revision request. The team made the final edits, collaborating with the JAMAS staff on the final article, press release, and contract. The team contacted the submitters, giving us notification that the paper would be published within 7 to 10 days. We each were told, be prepared to possibly receive calls from the press since our names were listed in the paper's sample submitters. The team did not know how the press would react to the paper given the controversial nature of the subject. The reaction could be minimal to sensational, both positive or negative. No one really knew what to expect. There were many critics that falsely claimed after the paper was published that the Sasquatch Genome Study did not pass peer review. Many of these same critics also reported that the JAMAS journal never existed. The documentation provided obviously proves that JAMAS journal did exist, and the Sasquatch Genome Project did pass peer review. A publication contract did exist for publication on or about January 8, 2013. For the peer reviews and authors' responses from the JAMAS journal, please see Exhibit 10. The process was moving along smoothly, as all involved were extremely excited about the impending publishing of the paper. Then, without warning, I received an email from Dave Pilates that is devastating, confusing, and baffling me completely. The following is the body of that incredible email. January 10th, 2013 at 6:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Guys, I just received a call from Melba with some unbelievable news. First, here's the link to the journal accepting the paper. Boom, link. Melba had been told by the editor that the paper was approved and that they were moving forward with the publication late tonight. The paper was in the hands of other peer reviews now, but enough had signed off on it to be approved. The editor called Melba this afternoon crying and shaken supposedly to his core. He told her that 2 of the most trusted people inside the journal had been victims of a murder-suicide. This supposedly occurred somewhere in Utah. I did a search and nothing was in the press about it at this point. I don't know the names. The editor also told Melba that the journal was using this project to help get widespread publicity and inauguration of the journal. The attorney for the journal has supposedly told the editor to move away from this project and to not publish or he'd resign. Guys, I don't know what to believe other than there's a lot of bad karma with this study. If you have had any ability to get news off the web or through other sources, let me know if you find anything out about the victims mentioned above. As of this time, nothing is going to be published as the editors appear frightened. Dave. As mentioned in the introduction, to protect Dr. Ketchum and the journal's executive publisher, the following emails will be sanitized. The text of the emails between Dr. Ketchum and the executive publisher, EP, of the JAMAS journal reveal what was occurring, quote, behind the scenes, end quote. This email exchange began on January 9th, 2013, ending in a phone call where the executive publisher would tell of the before-mentioned, quote, mysterious deaths, end quote, including direct threats. The JAMAS executive publisher's remarks will be designated with EP first. An email received by Dr. Ketchum on the evening of January 9th at 6 p.m. concerning the progress of publishing. EP. Subject. Great news. To Dr. Melba S. Ketchum. Our conversations have been email only today. Scholastica doesn't seem to be too concerned, but we will not be contacted, redacted. We are confident in the final peer review being completed this evening, so I feel very confident regarding our go live. I will be accountable to upload my press release in Scholastica. I was taught how to configure the release so it is to top on Google search. I spent an hour on the phone with tech support. Phase now has a corporate office headquartering in blank. We are still slow with going with Wikipedia, but moving ahead. The following email string begins on January 10th at 2:14 p.m. The executive producer starts the email string with the following exchange. EP, press release, big problem. You need to retract your announcement ASAP. Legal counsel, not a wise thing to do. Dr. Ketchum, what's the problem? EP, Melba, I reviewed my press release statement with my attorney. I've tried to get feedback from blank on Phase, the journal, and this manuscript. Blank and I are currently on the phone, and blank is very upset and concerned. Blank will not support me or continue to represent me if I proceed with the press release. I need blank. I am very scared. I don't want to put you in a bad situation, but I must protect myself, and especially my little babies. I am not sure what to do. I'm on the phone with blank now. We need a strategy to keep us both whole and both protected. Please forgive me. I am sorry. Dr. Ketchum, we got our press release stopped. I need to know what is going on, though. Please call me. EP, thank God. God is still on our side. I will call you. I am trying to hold back my tears during this phone call right now. I have the sickest feeling in my stomach. Dr. Ketchum engaged in a phone conversation with the executive publisher of the Phase Journal sometime after the email string was finished on January 10th, 2013. Not being privy to the conversation, I am unable to give any details of the conversation. However, the content of an email the next morning reveals that Dr. Ketchum was able to convince the executive publisher of Phase to transfer the ownership of the journal in order to preserve the passing review. Below is a sanitized email. Date, Friday 11th, January 2013. Subject, thinking more clearly this AM. To Dr. Melba S. Ketchum. Dear Melba, I think your plan of transferring JAMAS is brilliant. The work is done, so if whoever decides to take over JAMAS needs to quickly sign up
with their profile on Scholastica. If this happens ASAP, you could still get this out before the 16th. The peer reviews are all there anonymously. Whoever takes over JAMS can read those peer reviews and make their own editorial decision to publish. Respond to this email and let me know whoever it has signed up with a profile on Scholastica. There is still time, there is still hope. An agreement was reached between the EP of Faze and Dr. Ketchum. On short notice, it only made sense for her to take control of the journal, preserve the passing peer reviews, publishing the paper as originally planned. The details of the transfer agreement remain confidential to this day. Dr. Ketchum took control of the Faze journal, renaming the journal De Novo. The team was informed that the study would be published. We were given the publishing date of Wednesday, February 13th, 2013. The irony of the date is obvious. The date was not my choice. Along with the date of the publication, the team decided on a low-key approach to release the paper. There was no press conference called, no presentation, no question/answer session. It is my understanding that there was a lengthy debate amongst senior team members concerning a press conference. Some members of the team were afraid that calling a major press conference to both announce publishing of the paper and explaining the results of the study would give the hostile mainstream press an opportunity to ask misleading, ignorant, or trick questions. Since most of the press covering the event would likely be ignorant concerning DNA testing, along with the subject of Sasquatch, the possibility of this being a literal circus to discredit the study was a legitimate concern. The decision was made to go with a press release announcing the publication of the Sasquatch Genome Project to include the details of where to gain access to the paper. A major factor contributing to the decision not to have the press conference along with the presentation was Adrian Erickson's refusal to allow the team to use his video of the Sasquatch. Erickson's team had captured both infrared nighttime footage and daytime footage. Erickson had originally committed to allowing the footage to be used when the paper was published or publicly released. Unfortunately, by the time the Sasquatch Genome Project was published, Erickson had become extremely delusioned with the Bigfoot research community. Erickson had watched as Dr. Ketchum, David Pilates, and other team members had been completely savaged by the Bigfoot blogs, magazines, radio shows, and websites. He had grown weary of the constant bombardment of lies, misinformation, rumors, leaks, including a visceral hate from the very community that he was attempting to support. Erickson had spent several hundreds of thousands of dollars of his own money, countless hours researching, only to have the Bigfoot research community attack his organization, accuse him of being a hoaxer, a liar, and attacking him relentlessly. Erickson literally took his ball and went home. He had produced a professionally made documentary that chronicled the Erickson project. This documentary included video footage, interviews with scientists on the team, physical evidence, DNA evidence, and eyewitness testimonials. The treatment he received from the people who said they, quote, wanted the truth, end quote, angered Erickson to the point that he refused to release any of his findings. He told the Sasquatch Genome Study team members that the Bigfoot community did not deserve the evidence to prove Sasquatch was real. He vowed to hold the evidence, footage, and documentary until attitudes in the Bigfoot research community and the general public changed. Erickson gave an enlightening interview about his project, including his thoughts on the situation surrounding Bigfoot. Below are excerpts from the October 2016 interview. Can you tell me about the plans to do a documentary about the research project? What has happened? Will it ever be released? Adrian Erickson, in 2011, we decided to shelf the documentary, which was in its finishing stages. We were not able to get an impartial, open-minded scientist who would stick his or her neck out to discuss the controversial DNA results, as they were not in accordance with DNA of likely species. Only the uninformed media gave it some soundbite time on various TV/news stations, and the Sasquatch community crucified Melba's results. A couple of experts lend their opinions. There was so much opposition and skepticism. Releasing the documentary at that time would be pointless. It was like saying we found a purple apple and everyone else said no, it can't because apples have always been red. Even others in the Sasquatch community in the race to come up with DNA did nothing but discredit the project. What conclusions do you draw from this study? Adrian Erickson, the world is not ready to accept what this species is. Certainly, the scientific community is not. As an example, even though Dr. Leela Chick witnessed a Sasquatch doing a bluff charge and recorded the audio of it, she could not come out and say Sasquatch exist, as I presume she will be criticized by her peers, or perhaps by doing so diminish her chances in the research field. If she feels she cannot, how can others? What have you learned? Adrian Erickson. Sasquatch will decide when it is time to be recognized. The Sasquatch decides when he lets you see him. There is no hunting for Sasquatch with night vision and cameras, as I naively thought at the start of this project. Unless they are chance encounters, the Sasquatch knows when you are there and when he is stalking us humans, not the other way around. I have also learned more about human nature along the way, the viciousness and prejudice on the subject. Please see Exhibit 13 for the entire interview. Without any of the promised footage, a formal press conference would not be possible. The Sasquatch Genome Study was published with little fanfare. News spread swiftly throughout the cryptid and Bigfoot research communities, but the mainstream media outlets completely ignored its study. The Sasquatch Genome Project team put out the following press release. Quote, 3 Bigfoot genomes sequenced in 5-year DNA study. New research paper published today shows how Homo sapiens/unknown hominin hybrid species existence in North American Dallas. February 13th, the multidisciplinary team of scientists who on November 24th, 2012 announced the results of their 5-year-long study of DNA samples from a novel hominin species, commonly known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, publishes their peer-reviewed findings today in the De Novo Journal of Science. The study, which sequenced 3 whole Sasquatch nuclear genomes, shows that the legendary Sasquatch is existent in North America and is a human relative that arose approximately 13,000 years ago and is hypothesized to be a hybrid across of modern Homo sapiens with a novel primate species, a species named Homo sapiens conjatus has been applied for the zoobank. Cogatus, or Cognatus, from the Latin con with and natus means blood relative. The study, the novel North American hominins next generation sequencing of 3 whole genomes and associated studies, was conducted by a team of experts in genetics, forensics, imaging, and pathology. The team led by Dr. Melba S. Ketchum of DNA Diagnostics in Nacogdoches, Texas, including Dr. Pat Wajite, I can't say it, I apologize, director of the North Louisiana Criminalistics Laboratory, Miss Elise Watts of Integrated Forensic Laboratories in Euless, Texas, Mr. David Spence, Trace Evidence Supervisor of Southwest Institute of Forensic Sciences, Dr. Andreas K. Hollenberg, Director of the Microscopy and Imaging Center at Texas A&M University, Dr. Douglas Toyer of Hughley Pathology Consultants in Fort Worth, Texas, Dr. Thomas M. Prajitsko of Helix Biological Laboratory in Michigan, Dr. Fan Zhang of the University of North Texas Health Science Center, Ray Shoulders and Ryan Smith of DNA Diagnostics. In total, 111 specimens with purportedly Sasquatch hair, blood, skin, and other tissue types were analyzed for the study. Samples were submitted by individuals and groups at 34 different hominin research sites in 14 states and 2 Canadian provinces. Ketchum's team sequenced 20 whole and 10 partial mitochondrial genomes, as well as 3 whole nuclear genomes from the samples. Please see Exhibit 14 for the complete press release. The study was published, now available for public, the Bigfoot, Cryptid, and scientific communities to review. The wait was finally over for the team members, submitters, and all involved. There was relief it was finally over, but in reality, it had just begun. And guys, that is Chapter 9. Wow, some really amazing stuff. The journal Jamez was sold to Melba. There was some issues going on with like the emails, like death threats. Someone passed away, murder, suicide. Guys, there's a reason why this information, they didn't want it out. So think for yourself, see what's going on. If you'd like to get this book, you can get it on Amazon. Again, it's The Truth Denied. This is the Sasquatch DNA Study by Scott Carpenter. Incredible stuff. So much stuff in here. But guys, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe. This is Travis Carpenter, or AKA T Carp. Again, God bless. Love y'all. Stay tuned for Chapter 10.